What's up, YouTube? This your main man, AB the Hero, back again with another video. And we got to do a quick recap on Vytautas' last game. It was Nevėžis versus Vytautas. Vytautas got the W, but I also am here to tell you that I told you so. Let's go. Alright, so like I said earlier, Vytautas walked away with the W here at 96-79. This was a good game. This was a solid team performance from Vytautas. There was a push by Nevėžis. The game was at Nevėžis' home location, and at towards the end, Nevėžis made a push trying to close the gap, but Vytautas was able to hold them off. It was a strong game. This game here was a very important game because, as you can see down here at the bottom of the LKL standings, you've got Vytautas at 10th place and Nevėžis at 9th place. Nevėžis is 2 games behind because Vytautas actually should have beat them earlier in the season, a couple games ago, but they didn't. But this is a big deal. Winning this game pushes Vytautas a step closer into catching Nevėžis for that 9th place spot. Alright, let's check this out here. Now, this was like I said, a very close game. This was, if we look at the stats here, I'm going to check this out. LaMelo walked away today where he played a cool 18 minutes. I'm sorry, LiAngelo had 18 minutes. LiAngelo played 18 minutes today. LaMelo 0 minutes. I guess the coach said it was a back injury, but then also, you know, he's got some trust issues right now with LaMelo. The highest score was Eldris Zazuskis, 16 points. LiAngelo came through, and it's kind of interesting. He was 3 for 3 from 3-point land, 11 points, 50% from 2-point range, and he only played 18 minutes. It looks like he was high, and even at a point in the game, he had 2 crucial threes to help Vytautas secure this victory. Rashawn Brodus had a great game. You see from the clips here that we're watching, the ball movement in this game was so much better than it was versus Vytautas, right? Now, one of the big things with this game is they were missing some key players. Thomas Demja left the team, and I guess he's signing with an Italian team, but he didn't play today, and obviously Melo didn't play. But as we'll get into some of the things that the coach said post-game, he kind of cited that maybe the ball movement potentially could have been due to some of Demja being gone, and you know, and I would believe that because when we start talking about team chemistry, I feel like he was the pillar of swaying the team chemistry the other way. So the two polars of members of the team, like Bristol and Brodus and Seskis, who are super on LeVar's side and wants to ride over there, obviously Gelo and Melo, but then you had Demja, who had a pole in the ground on the other side. And I think that this game here, the ball movement, man, as you can see, is some of the best ball movement that Vytautas had all season. I will say this, and this is kind of my point that I was trying to make in the last video when I was talking about versus Vytautas. When you're looking at a team like Nevėžis, to me, this comes down to who's got the best players, right? If we're going to play the same style of ball, then whoever's going to win this game is the better team on that day. Now, when you look at a team like Vytautas, and you're going to try to play the same style of ball as them, and they have considerably better players than you, you're going to have to do something different. So I feel like you're going to see better movement. You're going to see better ball movement and a better looking team versus a worse team. But regardless of that, this was still a big victory for Vytautas. And like I said, they still need 2 more games to catch Nevėžis, and they need Nevėžis to lose some games. But this was a a pretty successful game for them. I know that a lot of them were happy that they got this W. I was extremely happy that they got this W. But what I want to do here is I want to go to this thing because for the last game versus Vytautas, I made my video and I kind of recapped the game and I gave you some of my conspiracy theories. And we can all agree that your boy LaMelo probably had this worst game playing in Lithuania, right? But I will say that, as you can see from here on my last recap, 15 people with the thumbs down. And I understand why, because in the comments I feel like we had some pretty good discussion over people who disagreed with what I was saying in that video, and there are people who thought that they appreciated the objectivity that I was bringing, but they still thought I was off base, and so they were trying to educate me, and we had some good conversation. If you get bored, I suggest you go through there and read some of these comments. But basically in this video, I talked about how post-game I didn't like Cescas's remarks when he said that he was trying to teach LaMelo a lesson and about playing against real talent or real competition, and anybody can walk into the. I didn't like that, right? That was another thing that after that last game, I tweeted out this here about the rotation. He playing so many players, so many minutes. To me, I said this here, looks like a coach who's trying to please everyone, right? Now that I'm pointing all of this out because I want to show y'all something here, all right? So not only in this video that I talk about that, also in the comments, some of the debate that I was having with folks was about people kept trying to pin these losses on LaMelo, or like, oh man, 5-point swing here, Yadahio versus Zalgiris this, and it was so crazy to me that people was ready to give Zalgiris so many excuses for letting LaMelo go off on them, or some of the other good games that he had, or trying to compare Big Baller Brand Challenge games versus LKL games, and all of these things, and I just kept saying, yo, the dude is 16. To me, now I understand he's a professional player, right? But as a coach, when you come into a game, you have to have some type of understanding of your players' weaknesses and your players' strengths, right? And you want to create a game plan that is going to play towards their strengths, and not let their weaknesses be exploited. I felt like too many times with LaMelo, in this game plan that Cescas was trying to have him run, they were exploiting his weaknesses and they weren't playing to his strengths, right? And because of that, I think that when you take a 16-year-old and you put him in that situation where you have all of these adults who are saying, hey, it's your fault because you're not doing what we're doing, right? I think that that's just a setup for that situation. As an adult, a 16-year-old should not be able to dictate the course of an entire game when you're a coach who understands the limitations of all of that stuff, right? So folks try to tell me about, oh, Europe has so many professionals, 16, 17-year-olds, but they're not moving across the country and already are facing language barriers and all of these different things that LaMelo is dealing with. So trying to understand the game that you've been playing this other style, you've been playing basketball one style your whole entire life, now you're playing a new way, all of these different things that is unique to this LaMelo Ball situation, that is not unique to other 16 to 17-year-olds. So I just want to go there. But post-game interview, and y'all know I like to wait to do my recaps till after we get the post-game, and then after with the post-game, we need to get it transcribed and translated so your boy can read it. And your boy Ramnas Kalamasovas, he did the translation here again, and this is interesting here, right? So and I want to get to the good parts where I'm gonna say I told you so. So folks try to tell me that it is standard practice for well, first two things. When LaMelo hit the like 3 or 4 threes on Zalgiris, folks said, oh, that was because Zalgiris was playing their bench and the game was already in hand. And I was like, well, the game versus Vytautas was in hand. but they weren't letting him get off that kind of way. And then it's like, oh, well, you know, it's not the same thing. And I was saying, yo, they're playing so many players. Folks tried to tell me, yo, that's the standard in European basketball. They play so many players. So then I'm like, yo, you can't tell me that it's a standard for them to play so many players, but then there's this huge drop-off that would allow somebody to hit 4 or 5 3-pointers in a row from the top player, especially if players are used to being able to play. But so that was one argument that, or discussion that we had in the comments over there. Go check it out. But as earlier here, you see in this first part, they kind of talked about Dempsey and him and losing him, and how good the ball movement was today. And if you look at a lot of teams, or if you look at a lot of the other games, there was a lot of folks who commented on the fact that it felt like sometimes he was freezing the ball brothers out, and maybe that was a trickle down to other players. But here is the part that I want to talk about. So there was a guy, let me see, pull up back here. Martinez Lesriges didn't touch the court, right? So they asked him, yo, we realized that Martinez Lesriges didn't touch the court. And he said, well, and he said that he realized that he had been playing a lot of players, had a lot of folks in the rotation, right? And one of the players came up to him and mentioned that and was like, yo, it's kind of chaotic. It's just like porridge. And he said, Coach, you're too kind. You're playing. And so basically he's saying, yo, you're playing all of these players trying to please everybody. Now when you go back to my other tweet after the last game, I say to y'all, it looks like a coach who's trying to please everybody. He's too kind, right? So now he says that moving forward, he's going to shorten that rotation up. He cited that, let's see, same thing that I was saying. Sinskis was balling. You had no one with 6 players. That's a different team. And when you have 6 or 7 players play, they know what's going to happen. You get the chemistry when you shorten that rotation. Now, if it's a game that's not, that doesn't matter, and you want to get a lot of people experience, then you have the whole team come off the bench and get as many minutes as possible. But when you in this type of situation and it's dire and we need to win, you got to have the best players on the court. You got to have the hot hands on the court. So now Seskis is saying moving forward, he's going to adopt that strategy of, yo, we're going to play. We're going to limit the we're going to limit the number of folks that we have in the rotation, and we're going to play the hot hands. That's what I said now. You had Gelo here. He talks about Gelo with 18 points. He says that Melo didn't play because of a back injury. And I'm not sure. We'll have to see how that goes. This was an interesting game, too, because LeVar was at this game. He was in the stands, so you didn't have... and possibly this is why you probably didn't have Seskis coming out and just talking really wild. But he did say one thing here that I appreciated when he kind of referenced once again, what I was saying about the uniqueness of having these different players on the team with Gelo and Melo, is that it is a magnifying glass. If Gelo makes a mistake, everybody's like, oh, see, you made the one mistake. Melo make a mistake, it's like, oh, see, they made a mistake. When you look at some of these Vytautas footage from games earlier this season, you see what he was talking about here. The ball wasn't moving from anybody. Defense was lax from everybody, right? So now when you have these two players, the magnifying glasses on them, one of the cool things, though, about this last game was that allegedly there was a scout from the Lakers in the game checking out Gelo, and I want to say maybe there was another player on the other team who was an NBA draft prospect as well, who was getting checked out. But man, I really just wanted to touch down in this to say that I told y'all so. You know what I'm saying? This is something like where when I'm out here, you know what I'm saying, giving this game, a lot of times, man, I'm just not out here just talking just to be talking. I kind of know a little bit about a little bit. So that's just what I was. So my little insight from the last game, I felt like it was validated by the things that Seska said after this game. And we'll see, man. I'm excited for the next game and to kind of continue following this. I wanted to try to make sure, and make sure y'all hit the subscribe button, man, and hit the bell. But like I said, we're going to keep the content coming. I'm going to try to make sure I can get you a timely preview on the next game, and then a timely recap on the next game. And we're going to kind of keep the progress that we got rolling here. Let me see if we got, is anybody out here? We got a couple folks checking in, watching, man. But let me know, man, who all in the stream right now. We get a smooth little roll call going here. But so that's me, man. It's your main man, AB the Hero. That's my recap from this latest game. We'll see how things are moving forward. It seems like the tension in Lithuania is dying down. The season is coming to an end. Everybody is playing with the same sense of urgency. Everybody respects the fact that, yo, these next couple games are must wins, and everybody's on board, man. I'm on board. I think we need to get these W's. I want to see us get to 9th place. And I kind of briefly talked about this in some other videos. It feels, for some reason, I heard that Nevėžis may not even be able to meet the financial requirements next year in order to remain in the LKL. So if Vytautas does end in 10th place, like, you know what I'm saying, they may not be relegated to the NKL. And then there's some other things with the NKL teams that may not even be able to make the jump. So while there is a lot of pressure right now, there may be some room for Vytautas to make a mistake. But, you know what I'm saying, why leave it to chance where you can go out and get these W's? George King, what's up? Thanks for jumping on here. But like I said, it's your main man, AB the Hero. I'm out. Peace.